What is going on, YouTube? Coming back at you today with another F24 build video. We got some fancy pistons over here. This is going to be Eric's F24 build. He went ahead, sent me out the block, got it to Jeremy's. We got the full Jeremy Allen sleeve job, O-ring and everything. We are doing an F24, so brand new K24 crank right there. We got Traum Outlaw pistons, the big heavy stuff, same setup as mine. He sent these out, got them coated, which is a nice little added touch. He also got the pins DLC coated, nice little added touch. And then of course the 2.4 X-Beam rod from Jeremy, super strong rod, same rod I run in my car. This is basically a very similar build to what I got in my car. Honestly, it pretty much is the same build, besides I didn't coat anything. But it's a nice touch. The coating helps with lubricancy, like piston if it contacts the wall. The coating is supposed to not damage the wall as quickly. And then the DLC coated pins, very nice touch. I know like Real Street, they're really big on DLC coated piston pins, which honestly I might actually do one day. Apparently it's really supposed to improve everything with the pin and how it moves in the piston. But we're gonna get out of here. So today is gonna be pretty much mock-up. I always mic everything out, write it all down. We're gonna do pistons, we're gonna do mains, we're gonna do rods, and we're gonna figure out what bearings to slap in this 2.4. All right, so we went ahead and measured our pistons. Our pistons should be 342.00. Of course, they do have coating, and most of them came in at 342.04. So we went ahead and we zeroed out our bore gauge. We're gonna go ahead and slap her on and see what we get. And it looks like we're sitting at about 5 thousandths. 5 thou piston to wall. So we got 5 thou piston to wall, which is it's a good piston to wall. Anywhere between 5 and 6 area when you start going, you know, really crazy 1,000+ horsepower. And I know Eric, that's what he's planning to do with this. So, you know, more piston to wall is going to give you a little bit more room to play with. You can't go too crazy. You're going to get a lot of piston rock, and then you're going to start wearing the cylinders out. I think mine last time, we were right around 6 area. So 5,000 with the coating should be a really good piston to wall form. Shouldn't have any problems at all. So we're gonna go ahead and start cleaning the crank up and get these mains and get the rod bearing clearance. All right, so this is a brand new, right from Honda, K24 crank. So these journals and everything should be really nice. We're gonna go ahead and mic it out real quick and see what we get. But we just spec'd out the crank and pretty dang good. The middle journal's a little smaller than the rest, and that's typical. That's the one that does not have any oil gullies in it. And that one's always a little smaller to give itself a little more bearing clearance since there's no oil pressure hole in the middle journal. But everything else looks really good. So we're gonna go ahead and stick it in the block. Well, we're not gonna stick it in the block, we're stick the bearings in the block. Then we're gonna go ahead and get the mains first and see if we can target our clearances with, I think we're gonna go with ACL to begin with and see where we're at. All right, so we got our clearances. I like 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 6 a little tight, which that is typical for them to be a little tight, but these are about 5/10 tight. So what I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna try to do a double X on 1 and 6 and leave the half and halves through 2 and 4 and see if we can get that target a little closer on 1 and 6. All right, we got double X in 6 and 1, and we're pretty much right on the money through our mains. So Happy with that. This crank, the 1 and 6 main is just a little bit larger than the rest, and it's a brand new crank, so those journals have a little bit more beef to them. I noticed I was comparing like my old used crank, and it was a little bit smaller because of wear and stuff. So yeah, brand new crank, got plenty of meat on the journals, so obviously your bearing clearance is going to be a hair tighter than what you're used to with the same bearing. But they're good, not gonna have any issues. We're gonna move on to the rods next. All right, we got our rods. We went ahead and I'm gonna start with an H and an X bearing. That's typically what I run for these to get my target clearances. So we're gonna go ahead, throw this over in the vise and get our clearances. The cool thing about the rods is they're all the same size in the rod journal, so I won't have to keep changing my micrometer. So that's cool. So let's see what these are specking out to be. All right, so we got our rods going, and they're all right about 2.8 or so. 2.8, 2.9 and some change, so we're gonna stick to that 2.8 deal. All right, block is washed. We got these cylinders WD-40'd. This is Jeremy Allen's closed deck sleeve setup with integrated O-ring, as you can see. Super nice sleeves. I don't go to anybody else. Jeremy Allen's the man. So yeah, next is my favorite part, not ring filing. And got to clean these bores out to put the rings down in there, get these ring gaps, and we're one step closer to assembling. Remember guys, clean your rings. That was right out of the package. Look at that dirt. Clean your rings with some brake cleaner. Get them nice and clean. Okay, so on to gap and rings. As you can see, we have our secondary down inside of there, and you can see that little gap. Okay, see that little gap right there? That's what we're looking for. You take your feeler gauges and you see what will fit in there. Make sure that is square. I use a piston to get the ring square in the bore, about an inch or so down from the bore. And you see what it is. We got 20 thou, so second ring is already at 20 thou. We're going to 25 thou. So we need to go to the ring filer, file some of this off. Remember guys, you can always take away, you can't put back. So file very carefully. Clean it off, put it back in. Also, if you guys don't have one, I'd get a very fine file. The top rings normally don't burr, PVH top ring anyway, but the secondary rings will burr. And what I do is I'll take the file, and you can see where I filed it. Make sure it's nice and smooth on all ends, because if you have a burr on that ring, you will scar that cylinder wall up to no end. All right, we got our blockers in. He went ahead and got some Speed Factory oil blockers. I normally just use the Golden Eagles. They're a little bit cheaper than Speed Factory ones, but these are nice little, I feel like they're maybe like titanium or something. Pretty nice little blockers. So we'll throw those in. As you guys know, I don't run oil squirters. So that is an oil squirter, and that is the bolt. So that is what you are blocking off. Oil squirters, do they do a purpose? Yeah, they can. But for what we do for drag racers, and I've said this before in previous videos, I'd rather have oil pressure to my mains and rods and valve train than shooting it up into the piston. That's really made for cooling the piston down. We don't need it. I'd rather have good oil pressure and better flow. So we block the oil squirters. Okay, if you guys have followed my previous builds, you know that I wipe the saddles down with ATF. I'll also wipe the back with ATF just to get any dirt or particulate that's down in here, because this is your oil gullies. So you want to make sure this is all very clean before you're putting these bearings on. If you have a bunch of trash in here and you start the car, that trash goes right into the bearing. So this will remove all the crap in here. Of course, I've already washed the whole block. It's very clean, but this is just one more step to make sure that you have a nice first startup with no trash. finished. And let me tell you, it's a nice looking piece. Real nice looking piece. So big old 250 wall. We got the buttons on there. We got the coating on there. We got the big 7/16. I mean, this is a beef of a piston rod combo. This thing will hold some power. But we're about done for today. I still need to get seals for this block. I wasn't really sure how much he wanted me to do, but really just doing the bare minimum short block. I'm not doing like all the timing stuff. He's gonna do all that. So I'm really just doing rods and pistons, crank, and that's pretty much it. So I still need the main seal, so I'll grab that this week and finish this block up. And this thing will be put together pretty soon. I'm probably not gonna make a part 2. So I'll see you guys in a couple days. All right, so what we just did was a temporary install. As you can see, I don't have all the bolts in. I just wanted to temporarily install it because we were checking our rod to sleeve clearance. So you see how it's notched down there for the 2.4. So what we do is we take a piece of solder and we get it down in there and we get it to where the rod and the sleeve pinch it, and then we measure that pinch. And we are at 35 thousandths right now. So that should be good. I know Jeremy says anywhere between 30 and 40, you're good. So we're at 35, so we do not need to clearance these anymore. So we shouldn't have any problems with rod hitting the sleeve. So we're gonna take it back apart. We're going to put it back together permanently this time. So I'm gonna take this piston out, I'm gonna take the girdle off, and then we're gonna go ahead, gotta get the main seal in. We're gonna Honda bond this plate, put her back on, and install the piston. Make sure you put your thrusts in the right way. Remember guys, it's gotta go towards the crank. So put her in there like that. And then just slide her on in there. Shoop. Here we go. We got both thrusts in, correct way, and we got good thrust. We already checked, we got 7.5 thou of thrust clearance, which is right on the money. All right, so Erik ended up getting a main stud kit, which is, I don't run the stud kit, but I mean, they're a nice touch. But obviously these go down into there as the main studs. They go down on the main studs. And I mean, you know, they're nice touch. But believe it or not, guys, you know, these stock mains, they only get torqued to 43 foot-pounds. So there's not a ton of stress, and these bolts are more than capable of holding the crank stress. So, I mean, are this main stud kit needed? I don't think they're needed, but Erik wanted to go ahead and get them. Are they good insurance? Yeah, maybe. They might be good insurance, but again, you guys don't need these. But they are a nice little added touch. So we're gonna go ahead and install these mains. Every time you put a piston or anything and you tighten some stuff down, rotate it. Make sure it's smooth. Make sure there's no sounds, there's no binding. And obviously you're gonna have some resistance because you got assembly lube everywhere, but nice smooth rotation, and that is what you're looking for. You do not want anything binding up. So as you can see, we got our main studs in. They're good to go. The only thing next we have to do is we'll have to go around the girdle and do these supporting bolts, but I normally will do that. I'll let these settle in with the RTV, and then I'll go around and do the bolts. We're gonna go ahead and throw the pistons in next. All right, so first, you guys know we just cleaned the cylinder wall. We'll make sure that is nice and clean before you put anything in there at all. All right. So we went ahead, we got our ring compressor on. We oiled up our piston. We add a little bit more oil actually. So the oiling of the piston is extremely and the cylinder wall is extremely important. The reason being is it adds a lot of lubrication. So that way when you first, this is all about when you first put the piston in, okay? You do not want any severe harsh contact with the piston and the walls and the rings. So you want to make sure that it's nice and lubed up. The wall's lubed up. Now we're going to do a little bit on the piston, which probably a little overkill. Probably don't need piston, but what I like to do, I like to focus on the actual ends of the actual piston, around the rings a little bit, on the buttons. And all I do is just tap around and get that real nice and oily, okay? Make sure the rings move nice. You want to get your rings where you want them. So make sure you got the piston orientated correctly. Intake valves are much larger, so they go to the intake side. So you got to get your rings placed correctly. Once that's done, you're going to go ahead, put your ring compressor on. And then we'll go ahead, grab the piston, make sure that your bearing is lubricated. Carefully insert piston. Again, making sure your rings are where you want them. All right, you get it kind of started in the bore, okay? So the actual skirts are in there. Make sure your piston compression tool is down. I like to rotate the motor so that way it's straight up and down. So that way the rod is straight down. I make the crank journal all the way to the bottom, okay? So you don't hit it immediately. You're gonna take your thumbs, you're gonna get it straight, and you're just gonna go just like that. Nice quick motion. Piston goes in, slider to the bottom. Rod will hit the journal. Spin this around. And as you can see, there's our rod on our journal, ready to go. You're gonna take your cap, which you should already have lubricated. Remember guys, tang to tang, so tang down here, tang over here. Tang to tang. And then get your rod bolts. Get some ARP assembly lube on those puppies. Get some ARP on the tops here and drop them in. You got to have this moly lube on your stuff. You can use motor oil. That's also works fine. But I am a huge fan of the moly lube. It just feels real nice when you're torquing it and stuff. I'm just a fan. I like it. So now you're going to go ahead and bring these down. And I kind of like to do it by hand just because I like to feel how the threads are engaging. Nice and smooth, no burrs, nothing down inside. And then I go ahead and hand tighten the rod down to get it on the cap. All right, once he's hand tight, switch it over to our torque wrench. And these puppies go to 75 foot-pounds. So they're 75. Boom. And that is one rod in. Again, guys, you want to make sure you rotate. And it feels just as smooth as it did without the piston. Flip her over here quick without hitting the camera. And I hit you anyway. And you can see the piston going up and down. Nice and smooth operation. Nothing's dragging. Everything looks good down in the hole. Perfectly. Cylinder walls still look perfect. We're good to go, guys. We're gonna put the rest of them in and we'll be right back. We are done, guys. We got her all in there. It moves super, super smooth. Tell you, the gold top pistons look really cool. I like it. Looks very professional. She's all in there, ready to go. As you can see, we got our ACL bearings up in there. We got our studs on. We are ready. So we're gonna go ahead and put our girdle bolts on, and we are pretty much done with this short block. We aren't gonna be doing any of the timing chain stuff or any of the additional stuff around the motor. He just wants the bare short block assembled. So that's what we gave him. This should easily hold whatever he wants to throw at it, obviously on the right amount of fuel and the right kind of tune. But right tune, right fuel, this thing should hold a ton of power. Again, this is the exact same block that I have in my car, and it has the exact same specs that I did on my car when it comes to clearances and all that. So I mean, this is built for big power, so it has big clearances. He's gonna have to run 2050 weight. It's got big rings. He's gonna have to run really good atmospheric breather can on the motor because it will have some blow by, but that is just a trade-off of having a motor that can handle a ton of power and ton of boost. I have like black stuff all over my face. So yeah, this isn't like you're gonna run this thing for 10 years and never have to service it. I'm gonna be letting Erik know, he's gonna have to be checking rod bearings, which is a very easy thing to do. You drop the pan, they're right there. If he doesn't feel comfortable with it, he might send it to me each year to get freshened up. But if he starts running, 11, 12, 13, 1400 horsepower in this thing, it's going to need to be serviced. Now, this thing could probably hold 6, 7, 800 for years and years and years and years and never have to look at bearings. But he starts pushing this thing into the 4 digits. As you guys know from my car, it is not a put together run forever kind of block. You have to maintenance it, you have to look at it, or it will blow up, as you guys saw with my motor. So, very strong block. Needs a lot of attention. When you start making this kind of power on 4 cylinders, it's a ton of stress on everything. So, but this is a really sweet block. It's got all the good stuff. I mean, it's got Allen sleeves, the O-ring, it's got coated bearings, it's got coated pistons, it's got bottom studs, and we're going to be putting Jeremy Allen head studs in it. Let me show you guys this. These are new Jeremy Allen super alloy head studs. These things went in my motor. They're almost like a chromey look to them. But let me tell you, strong head studs. So as you guys know, I had a little bit of head gasket issues about 1.5 years ago. Actually, more like 2 years. And I was on M12, Inline Pro's M12 head studs. And I kept blowing head gaskets. Of course, I was running, 40 plus pounds of boost through it. So I ended up finding an L19 head stud from a friend, brand new in the box. So I bought those. Installed those, had 0 issues. I think I did 1 head gasket all year, which I was super excited about, right? So the L19s held really, really well. And then Jeremy hit me up and said, hey man, we just got a set of these super alloy 1/2-inch head studs. And he said, got a couple guys run them and they're super strong. They're not like L19 where they get brittle and stuff. You can handle these with your hands and they're just fine. But they're much stronger. They're almost like a custom-made 625 strength without the cost and without the brittleness of L19. So I said, heck yeah, man, let me try them out. So we put them in my latest F24, and I've been running that sucker all last year. Put new rod bearings in it, been running it all this year. Same head gasket. I have not had a head gasket, knock on wood. My coolant pressures has been super low, like 10, 12 PSI. And when I blow a head gasket, man, it shoots up into the 20s, 25s. It gets pretty hectic. So these head studs are awesome. I'm gonna do a slight little video on them probably for Jeremy to get them out there so people know that they are available. But these are gonna be going in Erik's block. So he should not have any problems holding boost. He shouldn't have any problems making a ton of power. Super excited to see this thing run. That's gonna do it though, guys. There's really not much else to show you. I'm gonna be putting in the girdle bolts and this thing's gonna be ready to pack up and ship out. So again, comment, leave, subscribe if you like what you're watching, guys. Please, if you guys wanna see anything, let me know. Shoot them in the comments. I do read comments. I will reply back, or I'll just make a video about it. All right, guys, I'll see you guys later. See you.